My name is Mendi Njonjo. I'm the director of KCB Foundation, a really strong believer in Kenya's biggest strength, which is our young people. And that is why I really am proud to be the director of the KCB Foundation, where we have been investing in young people ever since we started. And it really starts from a vision of shared prosperity, where we really want to see how it is that we can do work in improving educational as well as employment outcomes for the young people of the country. So the KCB Foundation started from a very simple premise, which is that we must have shared prosperity in all the communities that the KCB group either banks or has an interest in. And we looked around and we asked ourselves, what is the best way to do this? And it was true then, and it is still true now, that if you intervene in education and if you intervene in the economic space, then and only then can you really transform lives. So that vision was true when KCB Foundation started, and that vision is still very true today. So that's what we do. So the vision itself has not evolved. One of the things that I like to do when I think about what KCB Foundation tries to do is that I think of us as a foundation that is meant to really create the next generation of entrepreneurs, the next generation of students, the next generation of business owners. And that vision, when the KCB Foundation was started, was true. It's still true today. What has, however, changed is our model of delivery. So we've really tried to invest in scalable models, because we all know that if you have a vision and it is really something that speaks towards unlocking the needs of a population, it's also important that your vision grows. So those are some of the things that have evolved ever since we started the KCB Foundation, which is that we've tried to make it like really scalable. We've also tried to really make sure that it reaches as many people as possible all over the country. So what we do is that we try and provide vocational training scholarships, and these are really aimed at market-driven skills. And when we say market-driven skills, we're talking about skills that, number one, we are able to provide to a large number of people, because they're able to create either a large number of jobs or allow a large number of people to be able to create their own jobs. So some of these, for instance, are around things like construction. You can imagine why this is a really marketable skill. We also try and work in things like beauty, hospitality, as well as other sectors where every year we try and take a look and see which are the skills that are really in demand and that the youth really need to be getting trained in, so that we can create as many jobs as possible. And then the second thing we do when we now talk about skills is that the largest employer across the board in the country are these micro, small and medium enterprises. One of the things that we must do as a nation is to really provide these small businesses with the skills that they need to become profitable, the skills that they need for some of them that want to grow. For those that are really doing a very good job, how do we make sure that they're able to sustain their momentum? Because one of the things that we found is that every year we have about 1 million young people who leave schools, either they've graduated or they've left school, they're entering the job market, but a large number of them are not going to be able to find work. In addition to that, for the about 200,000 of them who are able to find work, a lot of employers will say, I don't really have the ability to work with them immediately. They need a little bit of support so that they can be immediately employable. So one of the things that is very evident is that if we want to have these 1 million people who are entering the job market every year be able to find some form of employment, we must equip them with the skills that they need to either become good employees or become self-employed, or to actually start their own enterprises and by themselves become employers. So it's really important that we provide this holistic training, because what we found is that if you only provide one thing, so for instance training, but you do not provide practical training, that becomes a very theoretical exercise. And if you consider that we are really supporting a lot of the vocational training scholarships in skills that are very practical, like welding, it's construction, it's beauty, if you don't have the practical knowledge, you're going to exit the vocational training center without the ability to really apply this trade. So we know that you must have the theoretical training, you must have the practical training, and then the other thing we also put in place are things like either employment linkages or job linkages where possible, where we partner with our training institutions so that the students who are leaving the schools are also able to have some opportunity for maybe an internship, an attachment, and we have found that the combination of these three interventions are very useful in not just training the person, but also transitioning them into the workplace. So what we do is that we rely a lot on market research. So we speak a lot to employers. They'll advise on these are the skills that we need. We also know, just by virtue of being adjacent to the largest financial institution in the country, that these are the skills that are out there. Additionally, as a foundation, we also carry out, typically on an annual basis, a review of what must we be providing so that people are able to get the training as well as also ideally get employment. And I think on that, it's also worth remarking that if you're in this sort of work, the other important thing that we also have to do is to make sure we're training people, not just for the jobs of this year, because you also want to be training people for the jobs of maybe the next 5-6 years, so of the jobs to come. So we're also trying to make sure that the skills that we're training people in are not skills that are going to become obsolete or outdated immediately after they leave the training institution. So it's a mix of we know the sector, we have been in this space, we do our research, we speak to a lot of people, and then our training partners also really reinforce these learnings so that our training is as current and as relevant as possible. One thing I can assure the viewers is that our program, our 2Jiajiri program, is a countrywide program. We really leverage on the KCB Bank, which, as you know, is everywhere in the country. Go anywhere in Kenya, you'll find that KCB Bank is there. And our support for enterprises is primarily through our partnership with KCB Bank Kenya. And then with vocational training institutes, be they private or be they public, we've also partnered with almost all the counties in the country. And you will find that it is not just even in the capitals of these counties. We're also really trying to make sure that we go beyond the tarmac, which is the phrase that we like to use. So one of the things that we have really tried to do is to make sure that we really put a lot of emphasis on working with training institutions that are not just clustered in urban areas. And even if you go to the counties that are primarily maybe rural counties, it's not just going to be around the capital of the county, it's also going to be outside the county. So you'll find that we are everywhere, and if somebody wants to reach us, what we do is that every year we typically will start our scholarship process, be it for 2Jiajiri or be it our KCB Scholars Program, on or around January. And we advertise widely through primarily the KCB social presence. So on X, formerly Twitter, we'll do it on Instagram, we'll do it on our website, we'll do it through the branch, and we'll announce to people that we started a 2Jiajiri scholarship process. And then we also provide pretty detailed information in terms of how can people apply. There's an online application process, and then there's also a secondary process where shortlisted applicants are usually advised in terms of the training institutions they need to go to for physical interviews, and then very clear directions in terms of what it is that they need to bring in terms of application materials. So you'll find you leverage a lot on the county presence, where through their channels, through their infrastructure, we're really able to reach as many people in their counties as possible. In addition to that, one of the other things that we really leverage on is the KCB branch network. So always, if you ever have any information about a KCB Foundation program, we're also going to do it through our branches. And it's also something else that we also leverage on in addition to the branches. It's also advertisement, sometimes through radio, and then now, of course, as I said, social media, which if you look at the demographic we're trying to reach, so 18 to 34, there's a relatively high chance that many of them are going to be on social media. And it starts from that very fundamental step where if you give people the skills they need to be able to make their way in the world, that is truly transformative. And for me, that is the biggest power and strength of the 2Jiajiri program, in that it has allowed people to be self-sufficient. It has given people the skills they need to navigate this world. And that has been an extremely powerful thing, whether you look at people who are self-employed, whether you look at people who are looking for employment, or even if you look at the businesses in terms of the MSMEs that we support. That transformation has been one of the things that we really pride ourselves most on. And I think beyond that, if you also look at the numbers, we're also really proud of the impact that we have had. So like, for instance, the ability to create 300,000 jobs ever since the 2Jiajiri program was launched. We've been able to, just last year, we've been able to train over 30,000 businesses in terms of business development support. We were able to train over 16,000 young people through the scholarships. Close to about 800 million was spent in the scholarship process, and in the business development support we used about over 300 million. So it's something that we have really invested in, and it's something that, again, when you look at the young people and you find somebody who previously was unemployed and is now an employer of 10 people, for me that is really something that when I sit down, even as the director of the KCB Foundation, I am very proud of what the team and our partners we've been able to accomplish. So after providing training, one of the things that entrepreneurs will typically struggle with or will typically need to consider very significantly is the issue of finance. And one of the ways that the foundation does this is that we make sure that the curriculum that we are working with through our training partners has very specific provisions for, if you're a business owner, things around financial literacy. How do you run your business like a business? So you're really getting the tools and the skills that you need to run your business properly as a self-employed person or as a business owner. Additionally, for people who are also getting vocational skills, one of the things that makes me really excited about the work that is happening through the Vocational Training Center is the provision of things like financial literacy, things like how do you become an effective salesperson, because we all do sales every day, whether you're employed or whether you're actually in sales, you're a business person. So it's really this slew of services that make you better at managing your finances. And then the other thing that we're also able to tap into is that through our partnership with KCB Bank Kenya, we are also able to support these enterprises by providing them with maybe the investor readiness or the credit worthiness that they need to be able to access finance, because we are very, very clear that if we want to grow businesses, they have to be able to access finance. So what KCB Bank Kenya has also done is to really make itself the champion for youth-owned businesses and open its doors and be able to provide loans to these young people who are looking to grow their businesses or to perhaps even just sustain their businesses. So that's how we really support in our in access to finance. So some of the biggest lessons the foundation has learned over the years is that skills are not enough. If you have a business, you also need access to finance. We've also learned, in addition to that, people also need access to markets or access to jobs. So we also have to provide things like job linkages or employment linkages. In addition to that, we've also learned through the years that if KCB Foundation is also to have impact beyond the people we're providing scholarships to, is that we also have to really provide what it is that we're learning and see how do we help create a more enabling environment for for youth-owned entrepreneurs in the country. So we have really tried to make sure that even our programs, we're learning from what it is that the entrepreneurs are telling us, what it is that we're learning from our vocational training scholarships, and to try and infuse this not just in our work, but also out there in the space where people are doing this sort of work. So those are some of the key lessons that we've learned through the years. So in terms of the potential of the youth to transform this nation, I would say really it is going to be the young people who do transform this nation. And I don't say that lightly. This world is going to be changed by the young people of this world. Kenya is going to be changed by the young people. And I'm also a very big believer that this is not something that is going to be done in 20 years' time, in 30 years' time, in 50 years' time. They're already doing it, right? And one of the things that we must do as a nation, it's one of the things I'm proudest about when you look at KCB Foundation's work, is that young people have been very clear. They have demonstrated over and over and over again, we can do the work. We can make Kenya a better place. Just give us the skills we need and we'll do this work. And for us, I think we are called on to make sure that this very sacred promise to young people, that we honor it by providing the very best of vocational training or the very best of business development support that we can as a foundation. So the KCB Scholars Program is I like to call our 2Jiajiri program the adult facing work of our program, and then the KCB Scholars Program looks at a younger population. So what we do is that we'll typically work with students who are in high school and students who are in primary school and want to go to high school, and we take them all the way from Form 1 all the way through tertiary. And we typically are going to look for students who otherwise would not have had the opportunity to access these high school opportunities or tertiary opportunities. We do this by providing tuition. We do this by providing pocket money, as well as everything else that a student really needs to become part of that educational institution to thrive and to grow. We provide mentorship. We provide support in all forms. And one of the things that we have found is that through this program, we are actually able to equalize and sometimes exceed the national average, which is what we wanted to do. We wanted to make sure that our students who come from economically deprived backgrounds, as well as also our diversity, equality, and inclusion scholars, who will typically come from pretty challenging circumstances. You know, some of them are students who are escaping early marriage. We also make sure that 10% of our scholarships go to children with disability. So we want to make sure that these students are able to actually attain or exceed the national average. So we see ourselves still staying in these three things that we do, which is scholarships for high school students, scholarships for vocational training, and then now support for MSMEs. And that is because it has been reaffirmed over and over again that these are the three priorities we need to have as a foundation. We, however, see ourselves doing more. I mean, the need is so urgent. Every time we do a call for, be it our KCB Scholars Program, we are overwhelmed by just how many people are looking for these scholarships, but we are not able to provide for them. If you look at our vocational training program, same thing. You're going to find that for every scholarship we give, maybe 30 would have liked to benefit from the scholarship. Same thing with the businesses. So we really want to do more. We want to deepen our offering. We want to make sure that when it comes to the support that we're providing all our program participants, that it is really also as relevant as possible to make sure that our program participants and the communities and the families they come from are truly thriving. It's very important to invest in businesses as well as young people, for policymakers as well as for others out there, because if you look at the people who power the Kenyan economy, truly, it is these micro, small and medium enterprises. And if you're looking to have the maximum impact, those are people that we really must continue to solidify and support efforts around. If you look at also now young people, if you look at the unemployment statistics, 67% of young people are typically going to be unemployed, which is much, much higher than the national average of unemployment. So for policymakers, for others out there, we really must continue to support MSMEs, we really must continue to support young people. It's also important that we support them with the skills, not just for today, but also for the future. We're living in a world that has climate change. We're living in a world that has AI. We're living in a world that is really changing very, very fast in terms of the equipment that we use and the challenges that young people are facing today. So we have to make sure that we're also investing in skills that a young person can navigate the world with, or a business can navigate the world with, going forward. So for me, those would be the biggest things that policymakers, as well as others who are invested in creating shared prosperity for Kenya, really need to focus on. The message that I'd like to share with someone who is young and may be struggling and may be uncertain about their future, I would like to say that this is something I have also had the privilege of working with others who are also in their steps, be they people who wanted to get vocational training, or be they people who wanted to really grow their businesses. Being uncertain, I think, is a very normal part of life, especially if you're really trying to make the best of what is perhaps not a really good situation. What I've also noticed is that from the people who are able to power through and be able to really create viable businesses, or to be able to get an employment that really supports them and their families, is that belief in themselves. And I do know that whenever I talk to almost all our program participants, I am so pleasantly surprised at the depth of knowledge, at just how smart and innovative and inventive Kenyans are. These young people have it in them. Just believe in yourself, right? And also make sure, one of the things that I would also tell these young people is to take advantage of the opportunities that are out there for them, right? It's not always easy, I fully appreciate that, but if you're able to really tap into what is there, there is a world out there that was created just for someone like you, and it's yours for the taking. So to the young people of Kenya, from the KCB Foundation, please know we are here for you. If you want to try and get vocational training, if you want to be a business owner who wants to get the support that they need to have a stronger business, our 2Jiajiri program was created just for you. Please look for us online. We are on Instagram, we are on Twitter, we are on the KCB website. We are in every branch that the KCB Bank has all over the country. Together, we can help transform Kenya, and this is with you. Karibuni.